Alright, so, feelings. They are quite mysterious, are they not? They seem to be rather strange. They often seem to pop up at the most inappropriate times. And interestingly enough, for many people, they seem to not pop up when they're needed. If you're over a certain age, you decide what that age is. If you're over a certain age, you've probably been in love. And what's more, you've probably had somebody be in love with you. Now there's a good chance in either of those situations, you've had the situation where one person looks at the other and says those terrifying three little words, I love you. And somebody on the other side of that comment has gone, thank you? Well, the feelings have not been reciprocated. That really sucks, doesn't it? And you know, and when if you're the person on the side of it that struggles with that, who has like not had that feeling in as a reciprocal feeling, it can feel like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Why don't I feel like saying I love you? You know, why can't I get that out? Maybe I don't love them. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I'm just in denial that I love them. What is it? Why is the feeling not there when you want it to be, and sometimes it's there when you don't want it to be? You know, everything's cool, you're in this great place with your lover or with your employee, the person you're working with, you know, you're in a great space with them. And then suddenly you feel this, like, it's, you know, boiling pissosity. You're pissed at them, and you know, it's like, it seems disproportionate. Where did it come from? It's so like, what? I don't even know where this is coming from. Sometimes we have feelings like Peter just wrote about. We're feeling like, I'm here with you, yet I feel, or I'm here in this room, or I'm here in this job, I'm here in this career, and I feel invisible.
Nobody could tell I was nervous.
Or I'm about to enter this situation, and I'm really struggling with these feelings of not even rejection, but possible rejection, that I could get rejected. How am I supposed to cope with that? What's that supposed to do? Feelings are this incredibly mysterious thing that these, like I said, these seem to be like these little aliens that just pop up at the most inappropriate times and seem to not be there when you actually need them. So feelings, let's look at feelings. I want you to think for a minute of your most recent overwhelming, or certainly big, if not overwhelming, your most recent big feeling. I want you to type it in. Type into the comments right now the most recent big feeling that you got washed over with, right? Whether it was, and particularly if it seemed to come, let's say, out of the blue. So was it a feeling of anger that came out of the blue? Was it a feeling of joy that came out of the blue? What was the feeling that suddenly arrived? I'm going to walk a little bit and see if we can get a bit of a stronger signal. What was the feeling that overwhelmed you? I want you to type it in, put in there, what was the feeling that overwhelmed you most recently, or if not overwhelmed you, certainly was big, and seemed to be almost disproportionate. I want to help you with these feelings. I want to help you understand feelings. I want to help you understand where they come from. And I want to help you to understand why they show up, when they show up, so that you can grasp that, okay? So type in, what was the feeling that you most recently became overwhelmed with? What was that big feeling? Because we've all had that experience, right? We've all had that experience where a feeling comes out of the blue. So, I'm going to give you an example. A friend of mine was, her son is getting married. Her son's getting married, joyous thing. She'd met the fiance, she's hung out with her son and his fiance. All seems to be very good, right? Great feelings. Wonderful. And, you know, after they go back to their place where they live, which is another state, they send an email to my friend and they say, could you scan the baby pictures? So he wants his pictures of when he was a little kid. And so, you know, okay, sure. So she goes to the photo album to scan the photographs, and she can't do it. In fact, she becomes in massive overwhelm. I mean, there's tears, there's shaking, there's massive overwhelm at the potential of scanning these photographs. Why is that? This is not a big deal, right? Scan the baby pictures of your son who's getting married. Seems pretty innocuous, but is it? Is it? Clearly not. So where does that feeling originate? So Christy said a feeling of pride had overwhelmed her. Peter talked about anxiety, fear of the future. Karen said the feeling of not being able to move forward on something or anything. These feelings that seem to come out of the blue, that don't seem to have any sense, any reason, or any context, because generally they don't have context in the present moment. Allison said feelings of sadness and sobbing for no reason. So here's the first thing I want you to know. In your unconscious mind, well, you're all aware that you have a conscious mind and you also have an unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is different than your conscious mind. If I say to you right now, what time is it? You can look at your clock and you can tell the time. If I to ask you what time is it without you looking at your clock, you could probably guess. Right? You could probably guess what time it is. If I ask you what day is it, what month is it, what year is it, you can probably tell me the answer to that without looking at anything at all. You'll probably know what time, what day, what month, what year it is. Because all that's taking place in the conscious mind. However, your unconscious mind has no clock. There is no chronology in the unconscious mind. So what does that mean? It means that which happened 10, 15, 20 plus years ago, in your unconscious mind, there's no clock. So it's as if it happened right now. Now, it sits in the recesses of your unconscious mind, and it just sits there until something triggers that feeling to come up. So when you have this spontaneous burst of emotion where you're just doing something normal and suddenly there's this cascade of emotion that washes over you it comes like a torrential wave out of nowhere. Suddenly there's this explosive joy and like, wow, where did that come from? All this deep, crushing sadness, or this massive anxiety and fear or frustration, or any one of those feelings, including grief or whatever it might be. All of those feelings are not new. If we're going to take a look at the mystery of feelings and understanding what feelings are, where they come from, we have to understand this central premise. First of all, the unconscious mind has no chronology. It has no clock. It has no time. And what that means is you have no new feelings. I know it's shocking, but you actually have no new feelings. All the feelings you're experiencing, including those ones that just washed over you and overwhelmed you, are not new feelings. Those are very old feelings that you've had since you were a small child. And feelings that are not resolved are held in the unconscious mind and get washed to the surface with a particular trigger. The key is, the understanding of it is this, that most people don't have the emotional intelligence. And I don't mean to insult anybody by this. There's no reason for you to have the emotional intelligence around this. unless you've really done a lot of work on yourself to understand that something is unresolved. Because here's the way we look at life and the way we approach it. We say, well, you know, that was in my past. You know, I'm done with that. You know, some groups of people will tell you things like, you know, I'm complete with that. Yeah, sell me another bag of shit. You know what? You're not complete with anything. How do I know? Because it keeps showing up in your life. So it shows up first as feelings. This is important for you to get. So it shows up first as feelings that are triggered by an event, by behavior, by words, by something that's come at you. But here's the other thing. If you don't resolve it as it comes up, again, if you don't take a look at where did that come from, what is it triggered back there in that place with no clock, if you don't do that, then you will, by nature, by the very nature of your resonance, the quantum field, as you feed those feelings into the field, you will attract more of it into your life, more reasons to feel those feelings again and have them come back, to wash over you again and again and again, until, because it's all a calling, an amazing calling for you to heal. So this shit that drives you mad, hey, it drives me mad too, it's actually a calling of your own deeper psyche, what I would say of your soul, to heal. It's giving you this amazing opportunity to return to a place of healing. So when you have that overwhelming feeling, so here's the one that Karen said. She said, a feeling of not being able to move forward on anything. What I'm asking you to do now is think about the feeling that you typed in there, right? The overwhelming feeling of sadness and sobbing for no reason. The feeling of anxiety, the feeling of pride, the feeling of whatever it is. Ask the question. When was the first time I remember feeling this way? Now, you may not be able to remember the first time, so you go, okay, well, when was the last time? You get that, and then go, well, what was the time before that? Can I remember an earlier time? Keep asking yourself those questions. What was an earlier time that I felt that feeling? What does that remind me of? This is a key question. What does that remind me of? Take yourself back to those source feelings. Once you get to that sense of source, then you get to realize that this is not a new feeling, it's an old feeling, been repurposed into this situation. And this is a wonderful opportunity for you to heal that. You have no new feelings. Your past is not in the past. Your past is fully, totally, and absolutely right here with you. And it shows up in your feelings, because your unconscious mind has no clock. It has no chronology. It just keeps showing up. That just opened up a weird rabbit hole. Good to know, Karen. When you're feeling feelings of anxiety of what might happen, it's the same thing. It's asking you, when did I feel this level of anxiety? When did I first start to have this anxiety, this fear, this sadness, this grief, this joy, whatever it was that you were feeling? So Peter says, got it. The anxiety was a result of the frustration of not knowing how to handle it. Great. So whatever it was at that time, that's telling you, go back. Take a look. Now I want to take this further for you. You want to go deeper with this? You want to go further down the rabbit hole? If you want to go further down the rabbit hole, I'm not going to say anything until I get some thumbs up or type the word yes. Either give me thumbs up or hearts or whatever it is, or yes. If you're giving me those thumbs up, those hearts, those yeses, I will take this further for you. Thanks, Ernie. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. Karen? Yes. Some others? Anybody else want more of this? Keep telling me. I want to know. I want to know if this. I don't want to waste my time either. I don't want to waste yours. Lisa says, this is everything I talk about and no one seems to get me. Thank you. I knew I wasn't crazy. No, you're not crazy, girl, I promise you. You're definitely not crazy. Anyone else? Give me the thumbs up if you want me to go deeper on this. If you want me to help you get a little bit further on this. Give me the thumbs up, give me the hearts, give me the ding ding dings, whatever it is there on the bottom right. And yes, got the bootstraps on, whatever it is. Still waiting. So all of those new, good to see it. Thanks. Okay, Ola, good to see you. Peter, good. Thank you. Jesse, yes. Okay. So here's the thing. All those things are, thanks a lot, guys. All those things are coming up. You can keep doing that. It's lovely. It's nice to see. All those things are coming up to give you the opportunity to heal. They're giving you this. It's a call for you to go back and heal. It means it's not complete. So where do you go? How do you deal with that? Where do you dig into? I said you need to look back and say, okay, when was the last time or the first time that I felt this? What does it remind me of? Let myself go back. What was not healed? There's a good chance that whatever the feeling you had, like I said, this is going to go deeper down the rabbit hole. Whatever feeling you had, it was likely catalyzed by somebody or something. And there's a good chance if you've done any work on yourself, or you've done any kind of therapeutic or self-growth work or insight or whatever it might be, that you have learned, you have been shown that you need to forgive this person who hurt you, who did that to you, whatever that was. And you know what? That's true. You probably do. But I also want you, I said I'm going to take this deeper, so I'm going to do it. I want you to get something here that most people will never get. And that is this. There is no forgiveness of anybody else. There is none. I mean, there is, but not initially. See, here's the thing. I said I'd take it deep, and I promise you I will. So here we go. When you were a kid, when you were little, you looked at the world, you looked at your mom, your dad, whoever were the primary caregivers, as the god and goddess of your life. These were these all-powerful, amazing beings. I mean, let's face it, you looked up at them and you said, Dad, Mom, why is the sky blue? And they knew. And you asked them, why is the grass green? And they knew. And they told you when you had to go to bed, even if you didn't want to go to bed, you weren't tired. Dad, it's time to go to bed. You got to go. And you had to go. And they said, it's time to get up. And you said, I'm too tired. Well, you got to get up. They had so much, massive amount of power in your life. They had the power to feed you. They had the power to starve you to death. They had the power to love you. They had the power to reject you. It's so immense. And because you're a kid, you have no grasp, no understanding of their issues. It's beyond you. For many of you who are not children, it's still beyond you that your parents might have actually had some issues. Because they had some serious shit, folks. I got news for you. Right? So as this kid, you look at these all-powerful beings, and if they're hurting you in some way, if they do something that wounds you, there's only one conclusion to come to. It's called defective premise. You create a premise that you must be defective, that there must be something wrong with you. So when they, whoever they are, your therapists, your coaches, your workshop leaders, whatever it is, tell you you've got to forgive the person who hurt you, it's kind of redundant. Because the adult you can forgive your mom, your dad, or whoever it was, your uncle, your aunt, the person who, the teacher, whoever it was who did those things to you. You, as the adult, you can get that they did the best they could with what they knew and they had limited resources or whatever the hell it is. But that doesn't change anything at the emotional level. It's an intellectual concept. And freaking reframing it doesn't change a damn thing. Because the actual issue is emotional, and emotionally there is no clock. Because the unconscious mind has no chronology. And your feelings are held at the unconscious level. You don't have any new ones that are old ones at the unconscious level coming back up without a clock. So if you can't actually forgive anybody else, who the hell do you have to forgive? And here's who it is. You got to forgive yourself. But more specifically, not just yourself, but you got to forgive that little kid in you. Now I know it sounds so weird and so like freaking out there sometimes, but you've got to forgive that little kid in you that believed they weren't lovable enough, that they weren't good enough, that they weren't whatever it is that they thought mom, dad, the teacher, the uncle, the auntie, the grandparents, the siblings, the whoever did to them because they weren't good enough. You know, we've all heard the idea, we all have got the concept that, you know, when people break up, kids will often blame themselves. You know, we're all kind of like, oh yeah, I can see that. Well, guess what? You were a kid. So when things happened and you got hurt, you blamed yourself. So those feelings that wash up, that come out of nowhere, that those alien feelings that seem to be so inappropriate and so out of context, are places where you have to forgive yourself. They're a place that's calling you to heal with yourself. Bring yourself back to that place in your own childhood, in your own healing. Bringing you back to the very soul place that you need to get in contact with so you can become whole again. You know, that is really what my work is about and everything that I do. Yeah, I'm a leadership guy, but the leadership is self-leadership first. It's bringing you back to a place of wholeness. And you can skirt around this, and I know you will. Many of you will. Many of you, as I've said, and I've said these in many of these broadcasts, many people just do not have the balls to work with me. It's not cheap, I get that, but I'm not cheap. You know, you've got to invest. You've got to invest your time, you've got to invest your money, you've got to invest your energy, you've got to invest your effort, and you've got to invest your courage. Because it's from that place you get to actually heal and become whole. And that matters more than anything. So next time you have a feeling that seems disproportionate, in fact, next time you're with somebody and they have a disproportionate response to something you say or do, know this, that's something within them that they're trying to heal. And everybody's trying to heal. That's what we do. We're trying to heal, but sometimes we try to heal in the most inappropriate, dysfunctional ways possible. Give yourself a chance to forgive yourself. Give yourself that opportunity to go back and heal what is unresolved. Because I want you to grasp this. That little kid in you, you know, this idea of the inner child has become this weird thing to talk about. But when you understand that there is no chronology to the unconscious mind, when you understand that the unconscious mind has no clock, you begin to grasp that that inner child thing is a very real thing. That part of you is still inside. That little boy, little girl in you is still inside in pain, waiting for you, the adult you, to come back and say, listen, I get it. And I forgive you. When I began to do this work on myself, which is now a rather long time ago, more than 30 years ago, when I began to do this work on myself, I realized how much I had missed myself. What you're actually missing is yourself. You know that loneliness you feel? That's a piece of you that you're missing. And you're not going to find it in anybody else. That hole is a hole in your soul. And you're not going to get it as a male in anybody else's hole, and as a female by having your physical hole filled. And unfortunately, and I don't mean to seem crass to you, but I want you to grasp it, that we are doing a shitty job of healing because we try to heal ourselves through stuff, through sex, through drugs, through alcohol, through collecting cars or diamonds or houses or promotions or some other thing. Listen, I've got stuff to heal, so do you. That's part of the deal. And you're not going to be done until you're done, and that's all right. But the place to start is ask yourself this question, okay? Ask yourself this question. What might, keyword, what might I need to forgive myself for? I told you when I started doing this work years ago, here was my clue. I noticed how irritated I would become by little kids who were whiny. You know, I love kids and kids love me. We always have a great time together. I have a lot of fun with them. But every now and then there'd be this kid who I couldn't connect with. There'd be this kid who would sort of want to keep a distance from me and not want to be, you know, I'm like playful with him. Like my friend's parents always say, you know, bring dog over, he winds the kids up and then leaves. But every now and then I have one of these kids who was just like, whiny, you know, and it's just like, this kid would grate on me, would really get on my nerves. I'd be like so impatient with this kid. And about 30 years ago, I said to my mother, I said, tell me what I was like when I was little. She goes, well, you know, she started describing things. I said, no. When I was like 2 or 3 years old, and she goes, oh, when I would go to the front door, because somebody would knock at the front door, I'd go to the front door to open the front door, and when I get there, you know, if somebody was at the front door and you were with me, you would hide behind my leg. And when the person would say hello to you, you would get very afraid, very scared, and maybe even cry. And I went, oh my fucking Lord, that's it. That's how I am with those kids. The kids who were behaving just like I did when I was little, I was irritated by. I needed to forgive that little kid in me who was scared. I need to have compassion and kindness for that little kid who lives in me, because there is no inner clock. That little kid is alive, and maybe not very well, but alive inside of you. Missing you, missing your love, missing your forgiveness. So now you know the mystery of feelings, why those little aliens pop up, and why sometimes there is a disproportionate response to a situation because it isn't a response to this situation, it is a response to something in history that you need to forgive yourself for. This is Dov Baron, FullMontyLeadership.com, suggesting that you get curious about what you may need to forgive yourself for from when you were really little. All right, I'm not going to kick off now. What I'm going to do is ask you to tell me if this was valuable to you. If it was, you can do those hearts and all those other things that are on the bottom. You can click on that. Tell me what you got out of this. Tell me what what is your insight. Let's make this a conversation. Lisa says thank you. Yep, you're very welcome. Says forgiveness is person forgiving, let go of the anger, accept. Forgiveness doesn't mean absolving. No, forgiveness doesn't mean absolving anybody else, but that's not what I'm talking about. We're not talking about forgiving anybody else. This is not about anybody else. This is about looking at what it is you need to forgive in yourself. William says, very valuable, came in late, we'll watch from the beginning. I highly recommend that. It's going to really give you some great insights, William. Nisa, good medicine, thank you. I'm glad to know that you got a lot out of it. That was Nisa. You know, if you've gotten a lot out of this, give it the thumbs up, give it whatever it is, and please, you know what, if you find this valuable, if this helps you, if it helps you for yourself, if it helps you for your work, share it with others. That's okay. I'm giving you my permission to share it with others. And he says, oh my God, yes, it totally makes sense. I could feel those feelings as you spoke about childhood how the childhood feels. Right, good, excellent. Delighted that it could help you and serve you. I wanted to share this one with you for a while, and I know that I needed to wait a little while because I know I needed to have a lot of you following along to grasp this, because all the other videos that I've done in many ways are all sort of groundwork to this, and I've got a lot more really wonderful stuff to share with you. I'm going to keep sharing it, so you can be reliant on that. But again, if you want to find out more of the videos, get over to YouTube, find my channel. It's Dov Baron Leadership, is the Full Monty Leadership, Dov Baron Full Monty Leadership. on YouTube. Click on that. I think there's a couple of channels, but it's the Full Monty Leadership one that you want. Click on that, subscribe to the channel. And if you subscribe to the channel, then you're going to get the regular updates as we put new videos out every Tuesday and Thursday. Okay? And again, love to know where you're in from. New Jersey, Vancouver, Ontario, all those are great. New Zealand, thank you. Peter says, rediscovering an episode where my dad had made fun of something I did and believed that I became very angry. The anger scared me. Yes. And you didn't know how else to deal with it. Wow, great insight, Peter. Read the comments, folks. Read the comments. Read what Peter wrote. That is great insight. You got it. Ernie from White Rock, thanks for coming on. Thank you for the insights. You're very welcome. Lisa from Dundas, Ontario. Wherever you're from, let me know. Let me know where our viewers are. Even if if I'm no longer doing live and you're watching this back, tell me where you're watching it from. I know there's people watching it from Australia, from New Zealand, from Romania, from different places around the world. I'd love it to hear from you. It's always good to know. Until next time, I am going to check out now and say, stay curious, my friends. Stay curious about what you might need to forgive yourself for. I'm out.